get into questions, shall we?
Yep.
So let's start with, we got a question here from Footloose Boots, and I like this. So he wanted to know, did you ask creators for advice during your design phase? And if you did, what type of information were you looking for? So kind of overall, where were you drawing inspiration from? What kind of advice were you looking for over the time of the design?
Yeah, so that's a very good question, and I think it's a bit of a loaded question. So I'll say that for us, UNOZERO, obviously up until this point, we have taken a very classical approach to our offering, to our cleats and our boots. I'm here in the U.S., so that's why I say cleats sometimes. My apologies.
We don't judge.
Fine.
Cleats, soccer, it's fine. Go for it. We don't judge.
But we wanted to have a modern take on leather boots. So we drew inspiration from the product that we saw out there, that we felt had some things that we wanted in our offering, without really copying anyone. I think that the event of what we did is kind of take inspiration from that modern, fast looking boot, but at the same time still respect our core DNA, which is, they're handmade in Italy, small batches, attention to detail, premium materials, and all of that really results in what we believe it's a product that is very unique in the market. And I'm sure we'll have some time to talk about it throughout these questions. But having that said, that we went out to more of our own pool of players and ambassadors, to get feedback on what they would like to see with our product. And then, we worked with Noah Kavanagh. He's very well known. He's a boot expert. I know you guys know him well. And then he also helped us with some aspects and some features of the boot. So it was really a very collaborative project. It took more than 3 years to get this product out. So there was a lot of false starts. But along that process, those false starts really allowed us to improve the product and make it what it is today, what actually made it to to our store and now to the field. Does that answer your question?
I think so. I think that's a great answer.
Yeah, definitely.
I have all the questions here, so Andrew, do jump in at any points, grab the ones from the chat for sure. So I've got an interesting one here from, it says Victor Noel Jr. Says, what are the overall goals of the company? So do you have and he's refined it as what's your target player? So you're looking for kind of pros, amateurs, semi-pros. What kind of level are you kind of setting your boots at, really?
I love that question. One of the things that we always talk about, internally, and then what we try to convey in our marketing messages is that UNOZERO, our products are for the serious football. And that does not describe a specific age group, gender, level of play. If you're someone that takes the sport seriously and wants to have a boot that fits you properly and really enables you to play at a true peak level, like that's for you. We have 10-year-old boys and girls wearing our cleats, right? Our boots. And then we have, high school players at a high level, club level. We have college players, they're pro players wearing our boots. And then we have, Sunday League warriors that wear our boots. So it really is for anyone that really wants a well-made boot that will fit you well and will just simply enable you to play at your true peak level. Because something I want to say, and I'm sure you guys talk about this all the time, is like no boot is going to make you better. No boot is going to make you faster. No boot is going to make you hit the ball better. That's just all BS. However, there are some boots that can get in the way and can actually hurt and affect the way you play. So our belief is, can you make a boot, can you offer a boot that really has no distractions and really allows you to play like you have nothing on your feet. So that was kind of the inspiration, and it's always the goal of all the products that we make is allowing the player to have that natural sensation, And who's that player? Anyone that takes the sport seriously and really is looking after a good quality product. So I would not discriminate against, oh, it's for this. No, it's like, you want a quality boot, you can come to us.
Nice. It's funny. I had somebody ask me a similar question on TikTok this week. I was on my Predator Pro kind of mini breakdown. Predator Pro is a boot that I essentially hate. I think it's terrible. But somebody commented like, "Will the boots make you worse? Like, are they going to make you actively worse?" And I was trying to tread. I was trying to tread this line between saying exactly what you said there, which is, look, it's the player, not the boot. However, these boots fit so badly that you're not going to be comfortable wearing them. So the chances are, if you're not comfortable in your boots, you will perform worse. I was trying to really be like, look, I don't want to tell you boots are the thing here, but at the same time, the boots are so bad that maybe, just maybe.
James, you're too kind and too honest.
He is way too nice.
I was going to say, Andrew says this to me all the time.
We got some from Christmas Footy Kicks. Has UNOZERO approached any pros? And I believe in the past you had, was it the captain of FC Nantes who was wearing the boots?
Yeah, so we've had some players wear boots, and there's still some players that wear boots, and we're gonna get the Aventos on the pitch as well. We don't sponsor any players, and we have never really seek that route. The reality is that in order to play at a very high level, you need a lot of cash. You need to have very, very large pockets. And as a younger brand, we have always put all of our resources into improving the product. So you'll see a photo here, a photo there. To your point, Andrew, yes, we had a player named FC Nantes wear boots. I mean, so we've had players, and we continue to have players in the USL in Europe that wear boots, but we don't necessarily are able to promote them because we're not sponsors of them. We also have something that's very interesting is, we're more classical boots. We have a lot of players that wear them during practice. And then once it's time to go into the pitch, because they have an agreement with X, Y, and Z, boots. So, eventually we're working our way to get there. But we don't have any, a face of the brand that, hey, these players are wearing our boots.
That makes sense. Thank you very much. So again, this is actually another one from Victor Noel Jr. I really like this question as well. I'm sorry if I don't get to your question, by the way. I got lots of questions, so I just kind of pulled some of the best ones, or I thought were the best ones anyway. So wants to know what your, as a company or as you personally, what your favorite current boot manufacturers or boots are that might have inspired you and the Avento.
So that's a good question. I think that my inspiration comes from my own experience, and I think typically when you're doing something or you want to build something, you want to create something, it usually comes out of a personal experience. So I'm originally from Venezuela. That's where the accent comes from. And, I grew up playing with black leather boots in dirt fields, all my life. And back then, actually for a period of time, there was this law where you cannot import product into Venezuela. So we had a lot of local brands, and they were pretty crappy. But anyway, so I wore that growing up. And then once, imports opened up, then I had some leather boots from some European companies that no longer exist. We had the Patrick, and that was a boot that for me was oh man, this is really cool, very different. And then I'll do say that I was a huge Ronaldo fan growing up. I'm talking about the original Ronaldo R9. So in 1998, when the World Cup came and we had R9 with those fantastic looking boots, and I was a 16, 15-year-old. I was like, oh my God, I need to get those. So, that really turned me into a fan of football boots. But the reality is that my inspiration comes from the boots that I wore growing up, which were just like black boots. So I thought that, what happened was, roughly 10, 12 years ago, I went to my local shop to buy football boots. And I knew what I wanted to get. When I got there, I could not find anything that I wanted to buy. They were all like neon green, pink, synthetics. And I was like, I don't like any of this. And if I wanted to wear something a bit more traditional, it was something very old, like Mundial, which is very heavy, which I was never a big fan of. So to me, that was like, there's something missing here. And I shared that experience with my teammates, and they were like, yeah, it's kind of hard to find like really good boots nowadays. So that was kind of the origin of UNOZERO, which was me not being able to find boots that I wanted to wear, or at least did not have the quality and the look that I was going after. That was a very long answer. My apologies.
No, that's perfect.
This is exactly what the podcast is for. It's for long answers and detail. Like we do shorter things. I do short content. Like this is for detailed, long answers.
Yep.
The people in the chat right now, these are the real boot heads. These are the guys that like want to know all of the little bits of detail. So throw it out there. We absolutely love it.
And really, I appreciate this space very much, because the reality is that we live in a society in times where people want things now. Give me in 3 seconds. 5 seconds.
It's so bad. We've talked. James and I talked about this. Like the amount of times that like someone will send me a message or leave a comment on my stuff or on James's stuff, and they just want to be spoon-fed the information. It's like, if you read or watch the review, you will get the information you need. You'll get all the information, every single question. And it's just like, they don't want that. They want you to just tell them.
Yeah. No, and I, for me, like, there's only you can do a really good job at summarizing information, but if you want if you really want, you need to spend some time, listening, doing research. And I think that kind of goes to also a little bit what our customer base looks like, what our players look like, which is, it's very easy to buy from the swoosh, from the stripes. It's just easy. And the people that join UNOZERO, that buy into UNOZERO, are people that are willing to take that extra step and understand what's our value proposition, how we make the boots, why we exist. And then the biggest compliment that we get, and that I get personally, is that every single day we have people that come back for a second pair, for a third pair, for an eighth pair. And to us, that just says that we're doing something the right way. And typically is that person that is willing to kind of spend, instead of 10 seconds, spend 5 minutes doing some research. And then I think that you'll be better suited to get what you actually need.
Yeah.
For sure.
No,
for sure.
Shit.
You got anything in the chat there, Andrew?
Yeah, we do. Samuel Phillips, was Noah impressed with the first few prototypes?
Say that again. Were there?
Was Noah impressed with your first few prototypes?
Maybe that's a question that you should ask him directly. I think
that's what I was kind of thinking. We'll how about this? We can just say yes.
No, and one of the great things about him is that he's honest, and he's been able to build his audience through honesty, and that's one of the reasons, or the main reason why I wanted to collaborate with him, or have him be part of the process. As I said, this process of development took about 3 years. Noah was part of maybe the last 10 months of that process. So when I remember when he first got the first prototype, like you could tell that he knew we were onto something, but there was work to be made, and rightfully so. And he was absolutely right. So was he impressed? Maybe to an extent, but I think that he understood that it had to be better, and it could be better, and I think it ended up being better. And if you guys, if people watching this have not had a chance to check out the review, like, I invite you to check out Noah's review on the Avento. It's very thorough. It's very honest. And I think that the Avento comes out being showcased as to what it really is, which is a really unique offering of something that we feel is very special, and that hopefully is going to open up the doors to bring more people into the brand that up until this point, even though they knew about UNOZERO, they might have been like, it's too classic for me. Now, like, okay, maybe now is the time that I can actually give them the shot. And as I said, is the biggest compliment that we get is people that buy from us stay with us. So
yeah, that's like, and it is a huge compliment for anybody that's willing to come back and buy a second pair of the same boots, especially with so many options out there at the moment, just from the amount of colorways, the amount of brands and things like that. So somebody's willing to come back and get that second pair. It is confusing, even for us.
Confusing. Listen. We live like we eat this every single day because it's part of our job. I get lost. You just showed me the New Balance. I had not seen those, and it happens every single day. There's so much, and that's one of the reasons, for us. Like, I hate the flavor of the month model or flavor of the week nowadays, because I think it's really unfair to the consumer that you go out and you save up and then you spend in a product, good money to get the latest and greatest, and then 10 days later, yours is obsolete. Yours no longer the latest and greatest. And as a consumer, as a player, I felt cheated, and I did not like that. So with UNOZERO, we're always very very purposefully, like, we make sure that if we introduce a product, the goal is to have that product live in that portfolio for as long as it makes sense. Like, you're not gonna buy a boot from us and then a month later, sorry, like, it's not the case. If you look at the Modelo 1.0, which up until the Avento, was our best seller, we've had that shoe for 6 years. If it ain't broken, don't fix it. And people, once people find their boot, they don't want to change unless the manufacturer tells them, like, sorry, we're changing it. And as a player, that really sucks, because once as a player, like, the boots are the most important piece of equipment that you can have. So once you find your boot, like, don't change it. Like, don't please, like, don't play with me. So for us, that's part of our DNA, which is once we launch a product, once we introduce a product, the goal is to have it there for as long as it makes sense.
So you said obviously that took 3 years for you. So you've had the Modelo for 6 years, but you've been developing the Avento for 3 years now. So it's been 3 years to get it to this.
Correct.
This point of development.
And just to clarify, like, the Avento is not here to replace the Modelo, not at all. It's here to complement the offer. Just going back to my previous answer, which is the goal is, there are people that rely on the Modelo 1. Like they love that shoe. They've been buying it for years. I'm not gonna take away that from them. The goal with the Avento is to cater to maybe a younger demographic that really is looking for that modern look and feel and fit. That's who the Avento is for. Are we going to see some people that have been wearing the Modelo now going to the Avento? Absolutely. But also maybe through the Avento, we get new people that realize, hey, what they were looking for was actually the Modelo 1.0. So anyways, we'll see how things shape up.
With that, we'll get back to questions in a second. I'm kind of asking my own questions now, but I think this will be helpful for maybe people who are interested in buying as well, which is, could you kind of give an overview of maybe the difference between the Modelo and the Avento, and kind of what their key components are? Like, what are the main USPs for each of the boots? For anybody who's interested in buying that maybe hasn't seen Noah's review, can be like, oh, okay, this is the one that I should go and get, or this is the key points for each boot.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that question, James. So when you look at the Modelo 1.0, that's what we like to call a modern classic, more towards the classical aspect. So it's a full key leather upper. It has a lot of padding. It's extremely comfortable. It has a very traditional sole plate. It has a stitched sole plate. So it is a very traditional boot. How that we actually took and made a bit more contemporary. You know, we do have the deep lacing system. We have an ergonomic tongue, which is very nicely padded. You know, if you look at the sole plate, you know, it's reflective, so it's a cool looking boot. But in its essence, it's a more of a classical boot. Now, when it comes to the Avento, it's a modern boot. So, you know, it's a more lightweight boot. You have, actually, I have it right here. So this is the white Avento, and basically you have, and then I also have the black one right here. So you have K leather. Instead of being a full K leather upper, you have a leather that goes all the way from here, the midfoot, forefoot, all the way around. And then, you know, you have synthetic here more for stability purposes. So, and as you can tell, it's a very modern looking boot. You know, we have some things inside the hood that we kind of keep for ourselves, but it's a more modern fit. When you look at the sole plate, it's a more aggressive, more modern sole plate with external heel counters. You know, we have some micro perforations for breathability as well. But at the same time, it's still, you know, some people might say, oh, it still looks classic, you know, it still looks like a classical boot. And maybe rightfully so. And that's very intentional, right? Because you're not going to see a neon green in a bright pink boot from us, from UNOZERO. But, you know, one thing I do want to share is that we actually use the same last for the Modelo and the Avento. So,
nice.
You know, if you're used to wearing the Modelo 1.0, you don't need to size up, size down. You know, all of our boots are true to size. However, in terms of the construction and what's under the hood, it's just a more modern boot. It's more lightweight, and it looks, it's more modern than our Modelo 1.0.
Nice.
Thank
you very much. I was Andrew, was there something in the chat that might have been related to that? I feel like there was.
I like this one actually.
Okay.
Well, yeah. Proper Boots actually asked, for your current models like the Modelo, are you thinking of doing like a 2.0? Would it be like a complete redesign or a couple of tweaks? I think you kind of answered that somewhat. Like, if you did do something, it'd be more like a tweak or two rather than just like starting over.
So the Modelo, it's a boot that, you know, I think it's the boot that best represents what UNOZERO is about. And it's gonna honoring that heritage, that made in Italy heritage with premium materials, you know, craftsmanship. So there are no immediate plans to make a change on the Modelo 1.0. Like that is going to live. That's the silo that for the classical. And then now we have the Avento, which is, you know, the more modern take on leather boots. So I think that's how I would describe them. You know, we might do some special edition, limited edition releases, colorways, like we've done in the past. Like we did like a 5-year anniversary.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And then we did, and we also have a white and blue version as well that did very well for us. So we'll see. We always like to kind of keep it fresh to an extent, but there will not be any major updates on the Modelo 1.0, because then again, like that's one of our best sellers and people really rely on it. So, you know, like if it ain't broken, don't fix it.
Yeah, no.
Absolutely. That seems like a solid plan to me, anyway. So, kind of based on, I suppose we'll stick with things that could be amended or altered, I suppose, on boots. I've got a couple of questions that are very similar in that similar vein, and I think you've kind of given us the answers already, but I'm going to ask. As this is Alex Vander, wants to know if there's a possibility of a non-K leather version, so like a calfskin model, so that they can get it in California.
Yeah, our friends in California, I feel for them. You know, it's interesting because California, it's such a big state, and there's so much. And I'll say soccer because it's the U.S.
Yeah.
There's so much soccer being played there that it's unfortunate that they have to go around the system to get the boots, because guess what? People that are in California, they buy and they send it to their family member in Nevada, in Washington State, or anywhere else, and then the product ends up making into California. So they're just, obviously it's a deterrent, but the product makes it into the state, and we have no control over it. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Right now we have the Cali, which is a calf leather version of the Modelo 1.0, if you want to call it that. It has the same sole plate, stitched outsole, kind of the same essence as the Modelo 1.0, and that does very well. Obviously, we sell a lot everywhere, but obviously, especially in California, it does very well. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm not saying no. I'm not saying yes just yet. So we'll see.
See how it goes.
Yeah, kind of the thing is, international brands who do not have warehouses in the U.S. are able to ship into California if they've got K leather. So, like, I do part-time work for Adler. All their products except for one are K leather, and but they can still ship to California. They've never had issues.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that you can't. Like, I can take a boot and send it to California, right? Like, we can. However, the problem is they're in Japan. So if there's going to be any legal issues, like, they're not going to go in Japan. They go to the guy that is here in the States. So,
it's almost it's so crazy. It's like it's punishing you for being located in the U.S.
Yeah, 100%. And don't get me started with tariff. So, anyways,
hey, oh my god, man,
oh dear.
It's just an absolute nightmare.
Oh my god.
I do like this question because it's kind of close to my heart in some ways. Would you ever consider doing laceless? I know laceless boots are so hard to do.
Okay, so thank you for that question. So we, as part of whenever we bring in new partners, we kind of educate them on our product, on the brand. One of the things that we talk about is laces. Okay, why are laces important? So laces give you the ability to adjust tightness throughout, right? In this case, I'm going to use the white one because I think you'll see it better. No, that's not true. I'll use the black one. So we use a deep lacing system, right? It goes very deep into the forefoot. So what that allows us to do as a player is to really adjust tightness throughout, so you get really a custom lock. The only way you can get a laceless boot to give you the same lockdown as this boot is if they made the shoe with your foot dimensions. Andrew, did they call you for your last? Did they ask for your dimensions?
No. Exactly.
Exactly, no. So you are never, ever going to get the same lockdown on a laceless boot than with a boot that has laces. So no plans, absolutely not, to make boots that are laceless. And I'm sorry if I offended anyone. I'm just talking.
No. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I think a lot of people will wear laceless boots knowing that they're kind of, like they're giving up lockdown. They're giving up a more customized fit.
Yeah,
absolutely.
No, for us,
I think you have to go into a laceless boot knowing that. No, I was saying it's agreeing with you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So no.
Similarly, I have a question over here, and I think somebody put it in the chat about if there is a plan for an AG outsole, or I suppose the advancement on that is, would you say that maybe the outsole you have is good for an AG pitch? Like, is that where you're at?
Yeah, that's a great question and a great answer, James. So one of the things that we believe is, for us, we don't have bladed studs. We just don't. And we don't for many reasons. One is because we don't like them. The reason we don't like them is because we feel that they're very dangerous. The reality is that nowadays, unfortunately, because I'm as you can imagine, a purist. I love playing in natural grass. But the reality is that more and more we're being forced to play in artificial surfaces. And if you think about this, when you take a blade and you stick it into the ground, are you able to rotate that blade? You can't.
Yeah.
Physically,
you lose pivoting.
Exactly. But once you take something that's round and you stick into the ground, can you rotate? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So conical studs, allow you the ability to have better rotation. and there's more give when you step onto the ground. So this is a firm ground boot. It is a firm ground boot, but because of the stud pattern and the stud shape, it is rated for more newer artificial grass pitches. We do have some AG specific boots and sole plates on our website on UNOZERO.com. So if you're only playing on AG, then absolutely you should be wearing AG boots. However, if you play both on natural as well as artificial, then you cannot have two pair of boots. Then looking into boots that are conical will probably be your best option.
For sure. I think that's something that a lot of people are looking for now, is that AG, that FGAG option, something that covers both, especially with the price of boots and things like that.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
How long that some of the bigger brands, their boots are just not lasting, so it's not quite doing the job.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the questions. I've got a question here from Adi, if he is still in the chat. Here is your question, Adi, who wants to know I think it's a great question. What were the biggest obstacles to go from a startup company to an established name that is stocked by retailers?
Oh wow, that's a great question, one that I appreciate. I think that whenever you want to start business or want to create something, it's very hard. It is very hard. There's no way to sugarcoat it. People say, "Oh, it's going to be 10 times harder than you think it is," and that's a lie. It's a million times harder. It is very hard, and the reality is that I chose space that is by no means easy to first kind of survive and then grow. But I saw an opportunity in the market, and I think that if you have a very clear vision and you have a very well defined opportunity in the market, and you're persistent, you have to be persistent without blinding yourself. You need to be honest, because you might have a great idea and you say, I know it's great, but you're not reading all the warning signs, then it's not going to work. So I think that being persistent while being honest with yourself, can take you a long way. For us, and this is a true story, how we started working with retailers. We, very early on, we get contacted by a few stores, and I send a sample to one of the stores, and the manager had a pair of boots on the counter, and we're going to have a call with the owners the following week. In the middle of the weekend, I get a call, manager saying, "Hey Sam, listen, this happened." So I had the boots on the counter, and a customer came in and he asked what were those. I told him that they were a sample from a new company that we were considering to bring it in. And he said, "Can I try them?" He was like, "Yeah, sure, go ahead, try them on." The guy puts them on and he goes, "I'm buying this. I'm buying this." And the manager says, "I'm sorry, I can't sell you. Like, I need to return this sample to the owner." I was like, no, I'm buying them. So he was calling me to apologize that he has sold the sample that I had sent to him. And he said, but in return, here's my first order for our store.
Nice.
So that's a true story. And that's kind of how it happened. When I first started UNOZERO, I was thinking on, really pushing direct to consumer, which is still true. But that anecdote, that episode really opened a very important channel for us.
Nice. There's a little bit of luck in there as well. That's fantastic.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Amazing. A kind of a completely opposite end of the spectrum. That's obviously the very beginning. This is what's going on now. A couple of people asked about very simple question, where the boots are shipped from, because obviously they're concerned about maybe customs and import and things like that. And obviously you're made in Italy, so they're just like, okay, where are the boots coming from?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So we are a US-based brand and company. So all of our boots are made in Italy. then they come to the States, and then we cater the market here in the US and internationally from the US. So, if you're outside of the US, in some countries, there are no tariffs, there's no customs duties and fees. However, there are other countries where there are. So that's very unfortunate. And we always try to work with them, and we have solutions that have allowed us to offer lower shipping cost services. And anyway, so we're always trying to solve that, while the big guys up in Washington and other places solve for that. But yeah, so we're based in the US, and all of our product is shipped from the US.
Okay.
Yeah,
perfect.
that's been an issue for Adler recently too. Is I had a follower of mine who ordered some customs, and the customs are obviously much more expensive. And he lives in the UK, and he got hit with like a huge tax bill. Like, I think it was about like $160 he paid on taxes. Yeah.
It's crazy. And, I have an anecdote, which is, we had a customer very early on from Argentina, and they ordered boots, and the taxes on the boots, sorry, was it Brazil? I forgot. It was
Brazil, 100%, probably.
100%. So they had to pay the same amount of the value of the shoes to get them.
Man, yeah.
But anyway, so tariffs are a very sticky topic, especially this last couple of days. So anyways, don't get me started.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Absolutely. Justin's joined us in the chat, so I just want to say hi. And Proper Boots would like to know just a follow on. Where in Italy is just the question. Like, where in Italy are the boots made?
So, obviously that's part of our secret sauce.
Okay.
That's okay.
Yeah,
give us north or south Italy.
North of Italy.
There you go.
Yeah. So people that know, they know. There's a region in Italy where high performance footwear is made. Because even within Italy, there's a wide range of quality. That's the reality. Not all Italian-made shoes are high quality. And Andrew, I know you made a comment on another brand from Italy on the last week's episode. I think it was last week's, where they no longer make boots in Italy anymore for the most part. So there's, but even within Italy, there's a wide range of quality. But we make the boots where they're supposed to be made, and it's quality speaks for itself. And people say, oh, okay, how important is quality? Well, once you put the boots on, like, you understand. Like, you get, okay, I understand. And then the way they mold, and then how long they last. So,
perfect. No, that's great.
That was a good question.
Okay, we've got just a couple of questions left here, so I think I timed this pretty well. We'll go with the one here from Ollie Roach 55, who's somebody who's been following the channel for a very long time, who just wants to know, what were the must-haves for the boot when designing it? So was there anything that was an absolute non-negotiable? You were like, this has to be in the brand new boot. We're absolutely doing this.
The main thing is this needs to be a modern boot that young players want to wear. That's it. That was the mission. Is we need to have a modern boot that younger players can be attracted to, so we can bring them into the brand. That's really it. And at the same time, without compromising who we are and what we are. And I think that the Avento, is a good representation of that. It is a modern boot with modern features, with a modern construction, yet it's handmade in Italy in small batches by the same shoemakers that I work with some of the best pro players in the game, with premium materials. One of the things that we were very proud of is we don't cut any corners. We never have, we never will. I see some boots out there that say, "Oh, it's a leather boot," and what they're giving you, it's leather from here to here. And for us, like, that's not a leather boot in my book. We do give you, a lot of leather, and the benefit of that is that the boot molds to your foot throughout, not just on the forefoot, but throughout. And one of the things that we like about the Avento is that it really provides a very seamless experience where you're playing, even, if you hit it with your midfoot, if you hit it with your forefoot, like it's the same, it's the same touch and feel, because it's just one piece of leather wrapping your foot. It's another skin on top of your skin. So it's very natural. So yeah.
Nice. A question just here in the chat here that Rich dropped in, which kind of just follows on. I think this is a good question. Says he has a friend who just got the Aventos and is just asking about when to use the leather cream. So for kind of obviously just maintenance of the boot, what's the best time to do that and how to do that?
Yeah, James, I love that question. People that ask that question is someone that really cares about their boots. Like, we've all seen Tony Cruz, washing his boots after a game. And like, to me, like, that's the essence of the beautiful game, paying respect to your boots after the game. So one of the things that we do is that every single pair of boots from UNOZERO, they come with a leather cream. And because we want to incentivize the player to take care of the boots. What's the frequency? It really depends on the frequency of usage, and also depends on the conditions that you're playing in. So you can see when the boot arrives, it's very soft, and you can see the leather. So just the same way you apply hand lotion because your skin is dry, you do the same thing with the boots. So if you're using your boots, 3-4 times a week, I'll say at least once a week, once every 2 weeks, because you do want to keep that leather healthy, so that it continues to be very, very pliable and very soft to the touch. So it really depends on usage and the conditions that you're using the boots. But if you're using them a lot every single week, at least once a week.
Perfect.
That's normally what I do. So, I do like this question from Brandon. Just real quickly, has UNOZERO considered doing a personalization customization similar to Adler? And I will add on to this. I kind of think this is where the market is headed in general. I don't think every brand needs to do this, just to make that clear. But I do think a lot of the market, should be heading this direction for the most part. Like, those brands who can do it should do it. Those brands who can't really do it, it's not a deal break. Like, for y'all, I don't think it's a deal breaker. For the big brands, I think it'll become a deal breaker.
Yeah, it's a good question. So there are no immediate plans to offer it. In the past, we did offer for a very short period of time, and it's just very. It's not only cumbersome, but sometimes you have players that they order something and then the fit is not right, and it's like it's a custom product, so you leave an unhappy customer.
Don't I know about that?
So even though we say, listen, when it's custom, this is it. Like there's no refund, no exchanges, because we made these products with your name on it. We cannot sell to any other person.
Yeah.
So in the short term, the answer is no. However, we've always had it kind of on the side, like, is there something that we can do to make it a bit more custom? So we'll see. I mean, the honest answer is not right now, not this year, but we'll see.
Nice. Awesome. Nice. I like that. Yeah. Because I help Adler with doing their custom stuff right now, and it is a nightmare.
Yes, I know. And we don't,
it is such a nightmare.
We don't want more problems.
Yeah, oh my gosh. And Adler is definitely a smaller company than you guys, so it is
challenging.
It's challenge is a very diplomatic way to say that, yes.
I feel for you, Andrew. I feel for you.
Oh my gosh. I'm glad this is only part-time work for me right now.
Sam, is there anything else that you would like to tell us about the about UNOZERO, about the new boot, anything at all? Before we wrap up here, this is your chance to sell us all a brand new pair of UNOZEROs. Tell us about the company, you, the boots, anything at all that you think us and the lovely live viewers, and of course, if you are watching later on, there'll be a full edited version of this on Sunday morning as normal. So, if anybody watching, Sam, take us home. Tell us exactly what we need to know.
I'll take it away. So, first of all, James and Andrew, thank you so much for having me and for creating such an awesome
Thanks for being here.
For to be able to share what we do and the love that we have for the beautiful game and for football boots. UNOZERO, it's a brand that really we feel captures the essence, the spirit of the greats. The name UNOZERO comes from the number 10. You think about Pelé, Maradona, Messi, Baggio, Zidane, all these greats, and really everything that we do, we want to be the best at. And up until this point, our take has been more of a modern classic, and that has allowed us to enter this very challenging market that it is the football boot market. But we've been able to find our space, and thanks to those players that allowed us to play in this space, now we're able to offer a modern leather boot that I think that if you're in the market for high quality, premium fit, premium quality, premium materials that truly enable your performance, like you should look into the Aventum. One of the things that we like to say is that you want a boot that is going to make you forget about your boots, so you can actually focus on what matters, which is the game. And I think that all of our boots do that. And if you're in the market and you're looking for a modern leather boot that is made with care, that will fit you like a glove. And I know people love to use that phrase, but this is true. Like with our boot, like this is what it fits like. It's one piece of natural K leather that just goes around your foot. It just hugs it. There's no breaking time needed. So if you're interested, just go to unozero.com and grab a pair. We offer free size exchange, returns, all that good stuff, free shipping in the US, and we create a special promo code for viewers. So for the Football Boot Hour, if you use the code FBH, F as in Frank, B as in boy, H as in home, FBH, you get a 10% discount on not only the Avento, but any other boot on our website.
That is amazing. That. We didn't know that was happening. So
we had no idea.
We had no idea that was a thing. So thank you very much for that. So if anybody wants to pick those up, 10% discount with FBH, UNOZERO.com is the place to go. Obviously, we want to say a huge thank you to Sam for joining us today.
For coming on.
That was really, really interesting, fantastic, and thank you for taking the time to obviously answer all of those questions. As always, thank you to my podcast partner and co-host Andrew for joining us. And as always, you can check out Andrew at Lockhart Bootblog on Instagram and also lockhartbootblog.com. You are here on the Boot Wizard channel, so remember to like this video, get subscribed to the channel, because if you manage to get an hour through this podcast and you have not got subscribed, what on earth have you been doing? That is all for us this week. Thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you all next week. Bye.